Hey everyone, welcome to Christina Cakes It. I'm Christina and today I'm showing you how I made this shark cake. So this cake, of course, has a story behind it. This cake is for my best friend Lauren. It's her son Miles' 4th birthday, and this year he is just obsessed with sharks and he loves anything like ocean and ships and all of those things. So for the bottom tier of my shark cake, I am going to be using just 4 8-inch layers, and you guys can see I dyed them various shades of blue just because I think it'll look really nice when the cake gets cut into, just like a little pop of color. So for these cakes, I just used my vanilla cake recipe that I use for everything, and I'm just gonna start by stacking and crumb coating my cakes. So I should also mention that the frosting I'm using is just my basic simple buttercream recipe, perfect for this cake. And each of my layers has already been brushed with simple syrup. I wanna make sure that this cake does not dry out. So the top tier of the shark cake is going to be the shark coming out of the water. And you guys, I did so much research trying to figure out the shape of what the cake needs to look like. Like in my iPhone, there are so many saved photos of sharks coming out of the water. It's actually embarrassing at this point. So I'm gonna be using 6-inch cakes, and I'm just gonna start by filling and stacking. And I'm just using my basic buttercream frosting. And all of these have been covered in simple syrup because I wanna make sure that the cakes don't dry out. So you can see the top layer is made from a 6-inch like sphere, like it's like the Wilton like ball cake set, and so I use a 6-inch because I'm gonna want to basically make this like a cone shape, and I thought this would help the case. So now that I have my cakes stacked, I am ready to start carving. And something that's super important to know about this is these cakes are semi-frozen. So when you're carving cakes, you never want to work with fresh cake because it kind of just will fall apart. So your cake definitely needs to be cold. Super, super, super important. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna slowly start trying to make a cone shape with the top. And I want the shark's mouth like open, so I'm actually gonna cut away a little bit of the front just down. Like I'm leaving 3 layers and cutting away these 2, but I'm gonna start slow because I can always cut more, but I can't add, I can't add cake back. So what I'm gonna do now is this is gonna be part of the shark's mouth here, like teeth are gonna be coming out. So I'm actually going to just kind of carve away a little bit in here. Like I'm just going to like deepen the mouth here. So I'm also going to kind of oval out the front by cutting down just the edges of those bottom 3 layers. So this definitely looks like a bit of a mess now, but I'm gonna start covering this with buttercream frosting and you're gonna see the shape start to come together. So this is definitely called a crumb coat for a reason. It looks very messy right now. But after my first initial coat of frosting, I am gonna put this into the fridge and I'm gonna go over it with another layer to really start smoothing it out and getting that shark shape. But you can kind of start to see it right now. So we can see that his head is coming out of the water with a lot of his body. This is gonna be his mouth and he's gonna have a fin and some fins here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this into the fridge for about 20 minutes. So after looking at my cake a little bit more, I decided I want the nose to be a little pointier, and also after consulting all of the photos in my phone. So I'm gonna just kind of make more of a cone shape here. I feel a lot better about this shape. I don't know about you guys. So now that I have fixed the pointiness, now I'm gonna go ahead and put it back into the refrigerator and give it another full coat of buttercream. So my shark has been covered in 2 coats of buttercream. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna start working on all the details. But first I want to actually place where I want the eye sockets to go. So I'm just pressing right into the buttercream with the fondant balling tool. You can probably use your thumbs, but I have nails, so I do not want to do that. This will just help me with placement when I'm covering this with fondant. So what I'm gonna do now is add just a little bit of fondant around the mouth here. Like sharks have a little bit of volume, so I want to add that before I cover it with another layer of fondant. And I'm just using my own homemade marshmallow fondant recipe. I use this all the time. So this is just sticking right to my frosting, which is good. But if it's not sticking, I would use a little bit of Wilton Dab and Hold, but this is working just fine. So I'm gonna cut away the excess. And I'm doing the same thing along the bottom of the shark's mouth. And what I'm gonna do next is I'm going to cover like half of this with white fondant. And to be honest, this is the part of the cake I am most nervous about. Cut away the excess. There's actually, like, based on the photos I have of sharks, there's actually more gray on the shark than white. So I'm leaving room because I'm going to cover the other half in the gray. And now I'm just going to go ahead and start smoothing with my hands to mold the sharks, make it smooth and mold it to the shark shape. And I want to be sure to add those little like lines, like sharks have like wrinkles right here on their nose. And now I'm going to cover the back half. Fast to cut away this excess fondant, because it's heavy and it's causing it to tear. And a little tearing's fine. I can kind of piece the seam back together, but I knew this was gonna be the hardest part of the cake. But we got there after a few tries. So now I'm just going through and I'm pressing my gray into my white fondant. And since sharks don't actually have like a perfect line where the white meets the gray, it actually bodes well for me because it's a lot easier. If it was a perfect line, I'd probably be in trouble. So my shark is gonna be coming out of the water, so I actually am not even gonna worry about this because I'm gonna put like waves covering that. So another little trick to cake designing: if you find a flaw, figure out a way to cover it. So next I'm going to line the shark's mouth, like the inside, and I'm just gonna use a light pink fondant. I've seen people use like bright red, I've seen black, but real sharks kind of have like a pale pink, so that's what I'm going with. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make like a thick line around here, like a tube, like basically like lips is what we're going for. So now I'm actually taking just a little bit of black powdered food coloring and I'm gonna shade in some of this in the back here. So one thing I wanna do before I add the teeth is I do want to add the gills. So very key detail for the shark. So I'm gonna start by just making indentations here. And then I'm also gonna add his nostrils. So when I was researching sharks, what I learned is they actually have more than one row of teeth, but they have 24 exposed teeth at any given time. So I just made these sharks' teeth off camera using fondant, and I wanted it to harden. So I let them dry overnight. And I'm just going to stick them into my cake. I cut the fondant a little bit, and I'm just inserting it in with a little bit of Wilton dab and hold. So I guess my shark's not gonna be anatomically correct because I'm definitely not gonna be able to fit 12 teeth up here. doing a little dental work on my shark, and the shark needs braces because their teeth are actually like spaced. There's like spaces between the teeth. I'm like a little bit worried because this cake is going on a trip to Orange County, and I'm worried he's gonna lose teeth in the car ride, so I will probably make some extra and bring them just in case. So next I want to put my little shark's eyes in, and sharks have like little eyes. They're like little beady eyes. So I'm just going to cut little circles of black fondant and press them into the socket. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna actually start shading using gray powdered food coloring. And this is just to help it look a little bit more realistic. So just adding some dimension to the shark. This is helping the shark look a little bit more like, I don't know, sharks definitely, I think they live a rough life, and they're like not perfectly smooth, and they look like a little rugged. That's the word. The sharks are a little rugged. I might add a little bit more, but I'm gonna stop there for now. And I'm gonna add a little bit of red like around the mouth, just a little bit. I was on the fence because I wasn't sure if the red would look like too much for a 4-year-old's birthday party, but I really feel like Miles will appreciate the effort to make this look as realistic as possible. So to add the red, I'm using a little bit of powdered red food coloring, and I mixed it with just like a tiny bit of vodka. And I'm gonna start back here because I wanna make sure I like how it looks. Oh yes, that looks great. So we're just gonna paint around. And considering this is going to a kid's birthday party, this vodka will evaporate and burn off. I'm not worried about that. But I want to transfer this cake onto my bottom tier. So I'm going to stack my top tier on my bottom tier, and I actually put in 4 dowels off camera, and I am going to put a center dowel in as well. This cake definitely needs to be supported. So I'm going to be covering this whole cake with waves. So I'm actually not even taking it off the cake board. So I'm just looking for the hole in the middle of my cake. And there we go. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna start adding waves to the cake, and I'm just using various shades of blue. And what this is gonna do, it's actually gonna cover a lot of imperfections and just make that pretty ocean look. So I just have various shades of blue that I am taking an offset spatula, and I'm gonna go in and create the wave look. And I did make a little fondant dorsal fin off camera just by cutting out the shape and inserting some toothpicks so that it would harden. And this is coming out of the water. So I feel like I should at least insert it now for the placement. right, so I'm definitely like loving the wave. I feel like it adds so much to the cake, and it obviously hid all of the imperfections. And I am gonna place my dorsal fin here. No, wait, it goes this way. I am probably not going to keep this in when it goes on its little drive to Orange County, but doesn't that look amazing? It looks so good. And then I did make the little side fins. I don't know what they're called. I should look it up, but the little side fins, and these are going to go here. Actually, let me consult my photos. So these are just gonna get placed right along the side. And again, they might come off for their little journey for the drive, but I definitely wanna see how this looks. So I'm just gonna go back in and add a little bit more shading where I feel like it needs it. So my shark cake is complete, and I couldn't be happier with how this cake turned out. And of course, the most important thing is that Miles loves his cake tomorrow at his birthday party. And I hope that you guys enjoy watching me create this great white shark cake. And if you did, don't forget to give this episode a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.